The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Ethan's Seattle loft like it had a personal grudge, turning the city lights below into smeared halos of regret. Felix stood frozen in the doorway, his brother's laughter echoing from the kitchen. But it was the man leaning against the counter, tall, broad-shouldered Jordan with that effortless grin, who locked eyes with him and said, "You look like you just saw a ghost." Or maybe something better. In that split second, as thunder rattled the glass, Felix felt the world tilt. Because Jordan's gaze wasn't casual, it was a spark in the storm, pulling him under before he even knew how to swim. Felix had always been the quiet one, the shadow trailing Ethan's brighter orbit. At 25, he was still figuring out how to claim space in a life that felt borrowed. His graphic design gigs barely paid the rent on his cramped Capitol Hill studio, and his weekends blurred into freelance deadlines and half-hearted dates that fizzled like damp fireworks. Ethan, 3 years older and worlds more assured, had built a life here in Seattle that screamed success. The loft in Belltown with its exposed brick and skyline views. The tech startup job that let him jet off to conferences in Austin or Portland. And a circle of friends who moved through the world like they owned it. Jordan was the crown jewel of that circle, Ethan's college roommate from UW. Now a craft brewer with his own taproom in Fremont. The kind of guy who could disarm a room with a single raised eyebrow. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what Felix told himself later, when the pieces began to scatter. Ethan had thrown one of his impromptu game nights, the kind where board games devolved into inside jokes and too many IPAs. Felix had shown up late, soaked from the downpour that had turned Queen and into a river of umbrellas and headlights. "Bro, you're drenched," Ethan had said, clapping him on the back as he handed over a towel. "Stay the night." "Jordan's crashing too. Couch is yours." Jordan. Felix had met him before, fleetingly, at barbecues in Golden Gardens or holiday parties where the air smelled of pine and spice cider. But tonight, with the rain sealing them in like conspirators, Jordan seemed different. Sharper. He was sprawled on the leather sectional, sleeves rolled up on his flannel shirt to reveal forearms dusted with dark hair. A half-empty pint of his own hazy IPA in hand. "Felix, right? The artist." Jordan's voice was low, warm like the malt he brewed, cutting through the chatter as Ethan fiddled with the Bluetooth speaker. "Yeah," Felix replied, rubbing the towel over his damp curls. "Just doodles." Mostly, he settled on the arm of the couch, close enough to catch the faint scent of Jordan's cologne, cedar and something earthier, like the forest up near Snoqualmie. "Doodles that pay the bills? Nah. Man. Ethan, show me your stuff." "That mural at the coffee shop on Pike? Killer." Jordan's eyes lingered, green-flecked and steady, and Felix felt a flush creep up his neck that had nothing to do with the room's heat. The night unfolded in fits and starts, Monopoly money flying across the coffee table. Ethan's booming laugh at Jake's bankrupt empire. Sarah's dramatic sighs over her hotels on Boardwalk. But Felix's attention snagged on Jordan, the way his fingers drummed the bottle label, peeling in slow, deliberate strips, the crinkle at the corners of his eyes when he teased Ethan about his corporate sellout vibes. By midnight, the group had thinned, Jake and Sarah bundling into an Uber, leaving the three of them with the remnants of a charcuterie board and a playlist of indie folk drifting from the speakers. "Another round?" Ethan yawned, stretching like a cat. But his phone buzzed, a work alert. The curse of always-on founders, and he groaned. "Shit, Conference call from Tokyo. You guys good? Felix. Keys are on the hook if you bail. But seriously, crash here. Jordan's got the guest room. I'll take the couch. Felix waved him off, heart picking up a traitorous rhythm. I'm good. Rain's biblical out there. Ethan vanished into his office, door clicking shut, and the loft fell into a hush broken only by the patter against the panes. Jordan shifted, his knee brushing Felix's thigh. Accidental. Maybe. But the contact lingered like a promise. So, Jordan said, voice dropping to match the intimacy of the space. Tell me about those doodles. What's the one that keeps you up at night? Felix swallowed, the question feeling heavier than it should. He wasn't used to this, someone seeing past the surface. The way Jordan did now, leaning in with that half-smile that tugged at something deep in Felix's chest. They talked for what felt like hours, about the sketches Felix hid in his sketchbook, half-formed faces of strangers on the bus, about Jordan's brewery dreams, born from late nights in a garage fermenter and a stubborn refusal to chase venture capital. The rain softened to a drizzle, and Ethan emerged yawning, clapping Jordan on the shoulder. Don't corrupt my little bro with your hipster tales. But as the lights dimmed and Ethan claimed the couch with a blanket, Felix slipped into the guest room, the door ajar just enough for moonlight to spill across the bed. He lay there, staring at the ceiling beams, replaying Jordan's laugh, the brush of his hand when he'd passed the remote. Sleep evaded him, tangled in what-ifs, until a soft knock pulled him upright. Jordan stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the hall light, hair tousled from sleep. Can't sleep either, he murmured, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. He perched on the bed's edge, close enough that Felix could feel the warmth radiating from him. This storm's got me wired. Mind if I? Felix nodded, words caught in his throat, and Jordan stretched out beside him, not touching but near enough to make the air hum. They talked in whispers about Ethan's wild college pranks, the pressure of being the responsible sibling, the quiet ache of wanting more than the life handed to you. Jordan's hand found Felix's in the dark, tentative at first, then firm, thumb tracing circles on his knuckles. You're not like him. You know, Jordan said softly. You're real. The kiss came like the thunder earlier, sudden, electric. Felix's breath hitched as Jordan's lips met his. Tentative exploration giving way to hunger, hands roaming with a gentleness that belied the storm outside. They moved together in the shadowed room, clothes shedding like secrets, bodies fitting in ways that felt both inevitable and terrifying. Jordan's touch was reverent, mapping Felix's skin with whispers of God. You're beautiful, and Felix lost himself in it, the world narrowing to the press of muscle and the salt of sweat. Dawn crept in gray and forgiving, finding them tangled in sheets. Jordan's arm draped over Felix's waist. Panic flickered as Ethan stirred in the living room. Footsteps, the clink of coffee mugs, but Jordan only pulled him closer, murmuring, "Stay quiet." Just a little longer. They slipped out separately, Felix fleeing to the bathroom mirror where his reflection stared back flushed and undone. What had he done? Ethan was family, Jordan his world. But as he dressed, the memory of Jordan's eyes, dark with promise, lingered, a hook in his heart he couldn't shake. The day unfolded in awkward normalcy, brunch at a spot in Pike Place, where the air smelled of fish and fresh bread. Ethan oblivious as he raved about a new app pitch. Jordan stole glances across the table, his foot nudging Felix's under it. A silent tether. Felix laughed too loud at Ethan's jokes, his mind replaying the night in fragments, the curve of Jordan's back, the way his breath hitched when Felix whispered his name. By afternoon, the rain had cleared, leaving Seattle scrubbed and gleaming. Ethan headed back to the loft for a nap, waving them off to explore or whatever. Jordan suggested a walk along the waterfront, the Olympic mountains hazy in the distance. They wandered past the Ferris wheel, hands brushing until Jordan laced their fingers, pulling Felix into an alley shadowed by brick walls. Last night, he said, voice rough, wasn't a one-off. Tell me you felt it too. Felix nodded, heart pounding. I did. But Ethan, forget him for a second. Jordan cupped his face, kissing him slow and deep, the world fading to the taste of salt air and possibility. They parted breathless, Jordan's grin boyish. Dinner tonight? My place in Ballard. No brothers. No storms. Just us, Felix agreed, the words slipping out like surrender. As he boarded the bus home, the city blurring past, he felt the first crack in the facade, the thrill laced with dread, because some lines, once crossed, redrew the map entirely. Weeks blurred into a secret rhythm. Jordan's texts lit up Felix's phone at odd hours. Missed that smile already or brewing a new batch? Your verdict? They met in stolen pockets, coffee at a hole in the wall in Georgetown, hikes up to Discovery Park where the pines whispered approval. Jordan was a revelation, patient with Felix's hesitations, fierce in his affections, the kind of lover who remembered the freckle on Felix's collarbone and traced it with his tongue. Sex with him was a language Felix was learning, tender mornings in Jordan's sunlit bedroom overlooking the ship canal, urgent afternoons in the back of Jordan's truck parked at Alki Beach. But guilt shadowed every high. Ethan noticed the distance, the way Felix dodged family dinners with excuses about deadlines. You okay? Man, he'd ask, brow furrowed over his third espresso. Seemed distracted. Just work? Felix lied, hating the ease of it. Ethan was his anchor, the brother who'd pulled him through their parents' messy divorce when Felix was 15, the one who'd introduced him to Seattle's queer scene with a wink and a bar tab. Betraying that felt like carving out his own ribs. Jordan sensed it, too. One night, after a show at Nemo's where the bass thrummed through their bones, they argued in the rain-slicked street outside. This isn't fair to him, Felix said, voice breaking. Or us. Jordan pulled him close, rain mingling with tears. Then tell him. We deserve this. Felix. You deserve to be seen. The words haunted him. A siren call. Felix lay awake in his studio, sketching Jordan's profile until the paper tore. He was falling hard, irrevocably, and the crash loomed inevitable. It shattered on a crisp October evening, the kind where Seattle's leaves turned gold under street lamps. Ethan had insisted on a brother's night, beers at Jordan's taproom. A ritual to catch up. Felix arrived early, nerves frayed, finding Jordan alone behind the bar, polishing glasses with that focused intensity Felix adored. Hey, Jordan said, smile blooming as he rounded the counter. He kissed Felix quick and fierce, hands framing his face. You look like you need this. They were lost in it, Jordan backing him against the oak bar, Felix's fingers in his hair when the door swung open. Ethan stood there, six-pack in hand, face draining of color. What the fuck? The words hung. A guillotine. Ethan dropped the beers, glass shattering like Felix's world. Jordan stepped back, hands raised. Ethan, wait. But Ethan was on Felix, shoving him hard against the bar. My brother? You piece of shit. Get out. Both of you. Felix stumbled, pain blooming in his ribs. But it was Ethan's eyes, raw betrayal. The brother he'd idolized reduced to a stranger. That gutted him. He fled into the night, rain swallowing his sobs, Jordan's calls chasing unanswered. He ended up at his studio, curling into the futon as dawn broke. The phone buzzed. Ethan. Don't come home. Ever. Then Jordan. I'm coming over. We fixed this. But Felix silenced them both. The silence a void where love had briefly bloomed. What happened next? It unraveled everything he thought he knew about family, desire, and the fragile art of forgiveness. Felix didn't answer the door when Jordan pounded on it that morning, the knocks echoing like accusations in the narrow hallway of his building. He lay on the futon, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that he'd meant to fix for months, its shape now resembling a fractured heart. The rain had returned, a relentless Seattle drizzle that seeped through the cracks, mirroring the ache in his chest. Ethan's text burned in his mind. Don't come home. Ever. Home. As if the loft, with its laughter and warmth, had ever truly been his. By noon, the pounding stopped, replaced by a note slipped under the door. Talk to me. Please. J. Felix crumpled it, but his fingers lingered on the paper, tracing the slant of Jordan's handwriting. He wanted to rage, to storm the taproom and demand Ethan listen, but shame rooted him. This was his fault, the stolen nights, the lies woven like threadbare quilts. He'd known the cost and paid it anyway. The city outside hummed indifferent, buses groaning up Broadway, baristas calling orders at the cafe below. Felix forced himself up, splashing water on his face, the mirror reflecting a man he barely recognized, eyes puffy, stubble shadowing his jaw. He dressed in layers against the chill, hoodie zipped tight, and wandered out, feet carrying him toward the water. Elliott Bay stretched gray and restless, ferries cutting wakes like scars. He sat on a bench near the sculpture park, watching joggers in neon and dog walkers in wellies, their lives untouched by his implosion. His phone vibrated. Mom, calling from Portland. Felix let it go to voicemail. The message later, a cheerful ramble about her garden club and missing my boys. Guilt twisted sharper. She didn't know, couldn't know, the rift he'd carved. Ethan had always been the golden child, the one who mediated her tears after Dad left for good. Felix, the quiet observer, sketching her pain in charcoal while she'd bake pies that went uneaten. Afternoon bled into evening, the sky bruising purple. Felix ended up at a dive bar in Pioneer Square, the kind with sticky floors and jukebox country that clashed with the hip-hop crowd. He nursed a whiskey neat, the burn a poor substitute for absolution, when a shadow fell across the table. Not Jordan, too slight, too hesitant. Felix, it was Alex, a casual hookup from months back, all sharp cheekbones and faded band tee. Dude, you look wrecked. Buy you a drink. Felix waved him off, but Alex slid into the booth anyway, his presence a distraction Felix craved. They talked surface-level work gripes, the latest Sounders loss, but Alex's knee pressed against his under the table. A silent offer. Felix leaned into it. The bar's dim light forgiving as they stumbled back to Alex's place in Soto. A warehouse loft that smelled of paint and takeout. Sex with Alex was mechanical. A release without the poetry Jordan brought. Felix closed his eyes, chasing ghosts. But it only sharpened the loss, Jordan's laugh. The way he'd murmur Felix's name like a prayer. Dawn found him slipping out. Alex's arm heavy across the sheets. Guilt compounding like interest. Back in his studio, the space felt smaller. Suffocating. Sketchbook open on the table. Felix drew furiously. Ethan's face twisted in fury. Jordan's hand outstretched in plea. The lines bled into abstraction. A storm of pencil shavings. His phone lit up. Jordan again. Ethan's at my place. Yelling. Come, we need you. Felix's thumb hovered, then deleted the thread. He couldn't face them. Not yet. Instead, he texted his old roommate from design school. Mia, now thriving in LA, but visiting for a gallery opening. In town, beers. She met him at a brew pub in Fremont. Her hug fierce and knowing. Spill, she said over IPAs that weren't Jordan's. Her dark eyes scanning his light code. Felix did. Words tumbling. The kiss. The nights. The shatter. Mia listened without judgment. Her hand on his arm steady. You're human. Felix. Messy. Yeah, but that's the point. Ethan's hurt. Give him space. And Jordan? If it's real, it'll wait. But what if it doesn't? The question hung. Raw. Mia squeezed. Then you learn. And you draw it out. Make something beautiful from the break. Her words lingered as he walked home under stars peeking through clouds. For the first time, the city felt like a canvas, flawed, vibrant, waiting. 2 days later, a package arrived, Ethan's spare key, taped to a note in his blocky script. Keep it, but don't use it. Felix's knees buckled, the finality a punch. He called Jordan that night, voice cracking over the line. He's done with me. Jordan's breath hitched. He's angry. Emmy Moore. Come over, we'll figure it. The taproom was closed. Lights low. Jordan waiting behind the bar with 2 pours of his darkest stout. Up close, he looked as wrecked, shadows under his eyes. Flannel rumpled. I told him everything, Jordan said, sliding the glass over. The full truth. He threw a chair. Walked out. Felix sipped. The bitterness grounding. And you? What do you want? Jordan's gaze held. Unwavering. You. This. He rounded the bar, pulling Felix into his arms. The embrace a lifeline. They didn't speak, just held on as the jukebox hummed a forgotten ballad. That night, they made love on the taproom floor, amid oak barrels and the faint tang of hops, slow, reclaiming. Jordan's hands mapping apologies on Felix's skin. I'm not letting go, he whispered against Felix's throat. Not unless you make me. Felix didn't. Dawn found them curled on a pallet of blankets. Jordan's heartbeat a steady drum. Hope flickered. Fragile but real. But Ethan wasn't done. A week later, as Felix sketched at a cafe in Ballard, his phone rang, unknown number. Felix, Ethan's voice. Clipped. We talk. Now. My office. The startup space in South Lake Union was all glass and ambition. Ethan behind a desk piled with prototypes. He looked older, lines etched deeper. Sit, he said, not meeting eyes. Felix did. The chair cold. I'm sorry. Save it. Ethan's fists clenched. You slept with my best friend. In my house. How long? Months. Lie by omission. He wouldn't drag Jordan deeper. Ethan's laugh was bitter. I trusted you. Both of you. He leaned forward, voice dropping. He's using you, Felix. To get back at me for what? Some old grudge? Jordan's always been reckless. The words landed like blows. Felix stood, shaking. That's not. Leave. Ethan turned to his screen. Dismissal complete. Outside, rain lashed the streets. Felix running blind until he collapsed on a bench in California Anderson Park. Jordan found him there. Somehow, texted coordinates from a frantic message. Hey, he said softly, umbrella shielding them both. What happened? Felix broke then, sobs racking as he spilled Ethan's venom. Jordan held him, silent fury in his jaw. He's wrong. About everything, but doubt seeded. A whisper Felix couldn't silence. Was this love? Or just rebellion's echo? They tried anyway, dinners at Jordan's, where he cooked pasta with heirloom tomatoes from the market, lazy Sundays in bed, watching fog roll over the sound. Jordan opened up, his own coming out at 18, the family that faded like old ink, the brewery as salvation. Felix shared sketches, vulnerabilities bared on paper. It felt like building, brick by tentative brick. Then the betrayal struck, not from Ethan, but deeper. Felix found the texts on Jordan's phone, left charging during a shower. Miss you. Man. Last time was fire. When? C. C for Connor. Jordan's ex. The one he'd mentioned once. Casually. Photos followed in the thread. Nights at bars Felix didn't know. Bodies pressed in booths. The timeline overlapped their early months. Blurry but damning. Felix dressed in silence, slipping out as Jordan sang off-key in the steam. The door clicked shut like a verdict. He didn't go home. Instead, Pike Place. The market's chaos a bomb, vendors hawking salmon, flowers spilling color. He bought a sketch pad, sat by the clocks, drawing strangers' faces until his hand cramped. Strangers who loved without fracture. Jordan's calls flooded. Wait. It's nothing. Old. But Felix silenced. The hurt a fortress. Ethan reached out next. A text. Heard. You okay? Felix replied, no. But thanks. The crisis peaked that night. Alone in his studio, whiskey bottle half empty. He scrolled old photos, Ethan's arm around him at graduation, Jordan's grin from their first hike. The room spun, emotions crashing, rage at the lies, sorrow for the brother lost, a hollow ache for the man who'd made him feel alive. Rock bottom came with a knock. Mia, key from old days. You ghosted. Bad sign. She'd bundled him into her rental, driving to her hotel overlooking the bay. They talked till dawn. Her words a mirror, betrayal's a teacher. Felix. It shows what you won't tolerate. By morning. Resolve hardened. He texted Jordan, we need space. Real space. Then Ethan, coffee? Neutral ground. The meet was at a diner in Capitol Hill. Vinyl booths and pioneer glass. Ethan slid in opposite. Coffee black. I was an ass, he started. The anger. It blinded me. Felix nodded. Throat tight. I hurt you. Own that. They talked, halting at first. Then raw. Ethan's fear of losing his anchor. Felix's terror of invisibility. I love him, Felix admitted. But if it's built on sand. Ethan's hand across the table. Tentative. Then build better. Or walk. But don't hide. Healing began there. A thread rewoven. Felix returned to sketching. Lines bolder. Jordan respected the space. Texts tapering to thinking of you. Patient. Aching. Winter crept in. Holidays looming like specters. Felix chose solitude. A solo trip to the San Juans. Ferry rocking him to Orcas Island. There, in a cabin by the sea, he drew, waves crashing. Self-portraits fierce with scar tissue. Clarity came with the tide. Love wasn't perfection, it was choice. Repeated. Back in Seattle, snow dusting the hills, he called Jordan. Meet me. Waterfront. Now, Jordan arrived breathless. Coat dusted white. Felix. Not yet. Felix pulled a sketch from his bag. Them intertwined. Roots beneath. This. If you want it. Jordan's eyes shone. More than. The kiss was tentative. Then sure, snow falling soft. The city a witness. Ethan met them for New Year's at the loft. Awkward toasts over champagne. To family, he said. Clinking glasses. Redefined. It wasn't easy. Therapy sessions for Felix. Boundaries drawn with Jordan. Ethan navigating his own shadows. But in the quiet moments, Felix found grace, a hand in his, a brother's nod, the rain a rhythm rather than ruin. Spring unfurled in Seattle like a hesitant promise. Cherry blossoms dusting the university district sidewalks in pink confetti. But Felix's world still carried winter's chill in its bones. The reconciliation with Ethan was a fragile bridge, crossed daily with careful steps, texts exchanged about mundane things like the mariner's slump or mom's latest knitting project, but never the wound itself. Jordan hovered at the edges. Their reconnection a slow burn. Walks along the Burt Gilman trail where hands brushed but didn't hold. Dinners where conversation danced around the past like fireflies avoiding the net. Felix threw himself into work. His freelance portfolio blooming with commissions. A mural for a queer youth center in Capitol Hill. Bold lines of intertwined figures against a skyline of possibility. The act of creation grounded him. Pencil to paper, a therapy cheaper than the sessions he'd started with a counselor named Ravi, whose office overlooked Lake Union and whose questions peeled back layers like onion skin. What does trust look like for you now? Ravi asked one gray afternoon, and Felix sketched it absent-mindedly, a hand extended, not grasping. Jordan respected the pace. Though Felix saw the strain in the tight set of his jaw during their evenings at the taproom. Business was booming, his hazy IPAs winning awards at the state fair, drawing crowds of flannel-clad locals who toasted to the brewer with a magic touch. But alone, Jordan confessed over late-night drives to Gasworks Park. The city lights twinkling like distant regrets. I fucked up. Felix. With Connor, it was habit, not heart. But I get why you can't just forget. Felix believed him, or wanted to, the way Jordan's voice cracked on the words, the earnest tilt of his head. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow puppet in his mind, conjuring scenarios of more hidden threads. One night, After a release party for the mural, where champagne flowed and admirers cooed over his work, Felix spotted a familiar face in the crowd, Connor. Tall and lean with that surfer's tan that screamed California transplant. He was chatting up Jordan by the bar. Laughed too easy. Hand on his arm. Felix's stomach knotted. Champagne turning sour. He slipped out early, the April air sharp against his skin, walking the length of Broadway until his calves burned. Jordan found him at a bus stop, out of breath. "Wait, you left." "Why, Connor?" Felix said, voice flat. "Old habits." Jordan's face fell, understanding dawning. "That was nothing." He showed up uninvited. "I told him, save it." Felix boarded the bus, door hissing shut like a sigh. The fight that followed was their first real one since the thaw, texts escalating to a call where voices rose. Accusations flying like sparks. "You think I'm a villain?" Jordan shouted. "I chose you. Every day, and I choose to protect myself," Felix shot back, hanging up to the sound of Jordan's exhale. Space widened again. A chasm Felix navigated with Mia's transatlantic calls and Ethan's tentative invites to pick up basketball at the YMCA. Ethan was trying, harder than Felix deserved, showing up to the mural unveiling with a six-pack and a gruff "proud of you, kid." They talk more now. Over greasy burgers at Dick's. Ethan admitting his own role. "I push you away because it hurt less than admitting I failed you both." The confession cracked something in Felix. Tears salting the fries. "I miss us." Before, Ethan's hand on his shoulder. Solid. "We're here now." Building. But Jordan's absence echoed. A hollow in Felix's days. He'd dated casually, a barista named Theo with tattoos like watercolor. A poet from an open mic whose verses dripped melancholy, but they were placeholders, echoes of what he'd lost. Theo lasted 3 weeks, ending with a gentle, "You're somewhere else, man," and Felix didn't argue. Summer heat blanketed Seattle, rare and sticky, turning the tap room into a haven of chilled pints and patio strings of lights. Felix avoided it, burying in a new project, illustrations for a queer romance novel. Pages alive with longing he channeled from his own half-healed heart. Ravi pushed deeper in sessions. What if forgiveness isn't absolution? What if it's just? Continuing, the question simmered as Felix wandered the Fremont Fair one solstice night. The air thick with street food smoke and drum circles. Bodies pressed close in the throng. And there Jordan, shirtless under the solstice sun, helping a vendor with kegs, muscles flexing in the golden light. Their eyes met across the crowd, and Felix's resolve wavered, feet carrying him forward despite the scream in his head. "Hey," Jordan said, wiping sweat from his brow, voice tentative. "Hey." Felix's gaze traced the new tattoo on Jordan's forearm, a compass rose. Petals like the sketch he'd given months back. Jordan followed his eyes. "For you." Direction. The crowd surged, but they stood still, the fair's chaos a bubble around them. "I miss you," Jordan admitted, stepping closer. "Not just the good, the fights, the mess. All of it." Felix's throat tightened. "I saw Connor. It gutted me." Jordan nodded, pain etching his features. "I blocked him. Swear. And I started therapy, group for guys like me, unpacking the patterns." The honesty disarmed Felix, layers peeling. They walked then, weaving through artisan stalls, hands brushing until Jordan took the risk. Lacing fingers. The touch ignited. Familiar fire. At Jordan's truck, parked by the canal, they kissed slow, exploratory, tasting of fairground caramel and second chances. It wasn't seamless. Trust rebuilt in increments, shared journals where Jordan wrote daily gratitudes. Felix's sketches evolving to include them both, flawed and forward. Ethan met Jordan for coffee alone first. Clear the air, he texted Felix, and emerged with a cautious he's trying. Like us, fall brought harvest festivals. Jordan's brewery hosting a cider pairing where Felix manned the art booth, selling prints to tipsy patrons. Ethan showed, bind first, his grin genuine. To new chapters, but crisis loomed. Unbidden. A call from mom. Dad's cancer. Stage 3. Back in Portland after years of radio silence. The news landed like frost. Family fractures reforged in urgency. Felix drove down with Ethan, Jordan trailing in his truck, a convoy of uneasy alliance. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and wilted flowers. Dad frail in the bed, eyes the same hazel as Felix's, but dimmed. Boys, he rasped, hand trembling as he reached. Ethan stiffened, but Felix took it, the grip a bridge over years. They stayed a week. Rotations of vigils and motel rooms where conversations stretched late. Jordan fit quietly, fetching coffees, holding Felix through nightmares of abandonment. One night, by the Willamette under stars, Ethan cracked. I hated him for leaving you. For leaving us. Felix pulled him into a hug, Jordan's arm around them both. He stayed, in his way. We're here now. Dad passed gently. A rainy dawn service at the river. Back in Seattle, grief wove through them. Ethan throwing himself into work. Felix painting abstracts in blacks and golds. Jordan brewing a memorial stout labeled Roots, shared at a small wake in the loft. In the aftermath, bonds tightened. Felix and Jordan moved in together. A cozy duplex in Wallingford with a yard for Basil and bikes. Mornings were coffee on the stoop. Evenings tangled in sheets. Love a practice of presence. Ethan dated a barista named Riley. Soft-spoken and steady, finding his own rhythm. Holidays healed. Thanksgiving with mom. Board games, sans Monopoly. Laughter genuine. Yet depth came in shadows. Felix's mural expanded. A series on queer resilience. Drawing media, a profile on the stranger that quoted his journey from fracture to flourish. Vulnerability scared him. But Jordan's pride grounded. You're brave. That's why I love you. Crisis revisited in winter's grip, a fire at the taproom. Electrical fault turning barrels to ash. Jordan stood amid the ruins. Soot-streaked. Defeat heavy. Lost everything. Felix arrived with Ethan, arms laden with takeout. Not everything, Ethan said, clapping his back. Us. They rebuilt community fundraisers. Felix's art auctions. Ethan's connections. The new space rose phoenix-like. Grander. With a mural Felix painted, flames to ferns. Rebirth in ink. Through it, Felix learned, love wasn't absence of storm, but dancing in it. With Jordan's hand in his, Ethan's nod across the bar, he stepped forward, heart open to the rain. The grand reopening of Jordan's taproom fell on a balmy July evening. The kind of Seattle summer night where the air hummed with possibility and the distant hum of I 5 blended with live jazz from a corner stage. Felix hovered near the entrance, adjusting the collar of his button-down, the fabric still stiff from its first wash. He'd painted the sign out front, a stylized hop vine twisting into an infinity loop, symbolizing the cycles they'd weathered. And now, as guests milled about with pints in hand, he felt exposed, like the ink on his skin after a fresh tattoo. Jordan found him amid the crowd, eyes bright with that mix of nerves and triumph. "You see the line outside? Sold out the first batch already." He pulled Felix into a quick embrace, lips brushing his temple, the scent of fresh varnish and malt clinging to him. Felix smiled, but tension coiled low in his gut. Ethan was here somewhere, schmoozing investors with Riley on his arm, their easy banter a reminder of how far they'd come. Yet the old fracture lines itched, especially with Connor's ghost lingering in Felix's periphery, whispers from mutual friends about the ex crashing a nearby event, eyes scanning for weakness. "Stop overthinking," Jordan murmured, reading him like always. "This is ours. Ours." The words settled Felix, and he dove into the night, chatting with regulars about the new menu, sketching caricatures on napkins for tipsy admirers. Laughter flowed freer, the jazz band's saxophone weaving through conversations like smoke. By midnight, as the crowd thinned to diehards, Jordan dimmed the lights for a toast to roots that run deep. Even after fire, glasses clinked, Ethan's voice rising, and to brothers who stick, his gaze met Felix's, warm and steady, Riley's hand in his a quiet anchor. Later, in the quiet cleanup, Jordan locked the door and pulled Felix on a bar, kissing him with the slow hunger of survivors. "Thank you," Jordan breathed against his neck, "for seeing me through." Felix's hands roamed, unbuttoning flannel. "We see each other." Their lovemaking was fervent, the bar's oak cool under Felix's back, Jordan's whispers a litany of devotion. Afterward, tangled in the office cot, Felix traced the compass tattoo. "Where to next?" Jordan grinned. "Everywhere. With you." But harmony fractured subtly, like hairline cracks in glass. Felix's career surged. The novel illustrations led to a solo show at a gallery in Pioneer Square. Fractured light, drawings born from his storms now hung under spotlights. Critics praising the raw, emotional architecture. Opening night buzzed, collectors in tailored suits. Mia flown in for moral support. Ethan and Riley beaming from the front row. Jordan was there too, proud but shadowed, his brewery steady. But a new investor pitched expansion to Portland, demanding Jordan's full focus. Tour next week, he mentioned casually over post-show foe in the International District. Scouting spots. Felix's fort paused. A week, 10 days. Max. Jordan's foot nudged his under the table. Apologetic. "Come if you can, skip the freelance meetup." But Felix couldn't. The gig was key. A pitch to a major ad agency. "Go." "I'll hold the fort." The separation stretched longer than planned. Delays with leases. Investor dinners that ran late. Texts kept them tethered. "Miss your laugh" from Jordan. "Drew you in a suit." Dapper from Felix, but distance amplified doubts. A late-night call. Jordan's voice slurred from wine. "This guy's pushy. Want me full-time. No side gigs." Felix's heart stuttered. "And the art?" "Our life." Silence. "Then, it's business." "We'll adapt." "Adapt." The word chafed, echoing old patterns. Felix hung up unsettled. wandering his studio, now half-packed for their duplex, staring at half-finished pieces. Ravi's words resurfaced. Change test foundations. Does yours bend or break? Portland pulled Jordan deeper. Call sporadic. Felix threw into the pitch, nailing it with a campaign that blended his style with urban grit. But victory tasted hollow alone. Celebrated with takeout and Ethan's text. Proud. Beers soon? Ethan met him at the duplex a week later. Riley in tow with a pie from her family's farm. Jordan's killing it down there, Ethan said. Slicing apple. Talked to him yesterday, sounds pumped. Pumped. Felix forced a smile, but the seed of unease sprouted. That night, insomnia drove him to Jordan's email, shared for work files, where a thread with the investor caught his eye. Dinner tonight? Personal chat. M for Marcus. The slick venture guy Jordan described as all numbers. No soul. Felix scrolled. Heart sinking. Flirty emojis. A photo of Jordan at a rooftop bar. Arm around Marcus. Caption sealing the deal, winky face. Not cheating, he told himself. Business. But the intimacy stung. An echo of Connor's texts. When Jordan returned, sun-kissed and buzzing, Felix waited on the stoop. How was it? Intense. But good, deals in motion. Jordan leaned for a kiss. But Felix turned, offering his cheek. Saw the emails. Jordan froze. It's nothing, networking. Arms around waists? Winky faces. Felix's voice rose. Raw. Feels familiar. Hurt flashed in Jordan's eyes. You're projecting. Marcus is straight. Married, it's the game. The game that swallows you. Felix stood, pacing the sidewalk. I supported the expansion, but not if it erases us. Jordan's jaw tightened. You think I'm choosing money over you? After everything, the argument spilled inside. Voices echoing off exposed beams, accusations of mistrust, defenses of ambition. I need this. Felix for us. For stability, and I need you present, Felix countered. Tears hot. Not chasing shadows. Jordan stormed out, door slamming like thunder. Felix collapsed on the couch, grief-atide. He called Ethan at 2 a.m., voice breaking. It's falling apart again. Ethan arrived with coffee. Riley dozing in the car. Talk me through it. Felix did. The words a purge. Ethan's advice was simple. Brotherly boundaries. Set them, or lose yourself. Days blurred in limbo. Jordan crashing at the taproom. Felix sketching fury into abstracts sold at the gallery for double. Mia called from LA. Fly out. Clear head. He did. The flight a blur of clouds. LA's sun scorched away Seattle's gloom. Mia's beach house a sanctuary of salt air and rose. You're enough, she said one sunset. Toes in surf. Don't settle for half. Clarity came with the waves. Jordan's ambition mirrored his own drive. But unchecked, it starved the roots. Back home, Felix texted, talk. My terms. They met at Discovery Park. Trails winding through madronas. The sound glittering below. Jordan looked haggard. Flannel loose. I fucked up. Pushed too hard. Felix nodded. We both did. But the deal, scale it back. Portland can wait. Jordan exhaled. For you? Yeah. Rebuilding meant compromise. Jordan capping expansion. Dedicating nights to date jars, slips of memories. Read over wine. Felix opened his show journals. Sharing fears. Therapy couples now, with a mediator named Lena. Her office lush with ferns. Fall deepened. Leaves carpeting Green Lake paths where they jogged. Breaths sinking. Ethan hosted a harvest dinner. Riley's pies alongside Jordan's stouts. Toast to growth. Not greed. Crisis crested unexpectedly. A gallery offer for Felix. Residency in New York. 6 months. All expenses. Dream gig. Mia squealed over video. But leaving? Jordan's face fell over dinner. Go. I'll visit. Felix searched his eyes. Together? Or pause? Jordan's hand covered his. Together. Always. The choice anchored them, deferring till spring. Planning visits. Ethan's send-off brunch was tearful. Kick-ass. Little bro. We'll hold the rain. New York hit like a fever. Subways rumbling. Galleries humming. Felix's lines evolving in the city's pulse. Jordan flew east monthly. Their hotel reunions electric. Rooftop walks in Brooklyn. Bodies rediscovering in thread count sheets. Letters bridged gaps. Jordan scrawled on brewery stationery. Felix's sketched envelopes. You're my north, Jordan wrote. Winter solstice. Felix returned for holidays. The duplex aglow with lights. Ethan proposed to Riley under mistletoe. Ring glinting. Cheers erupted. Family whole. But depth demanded sacrifice. Jordan's Portland Scout turned permanent, a satellite taproom. Manageable commute. For us, he said, handing Felix keys. Your turn next. Felix's residency extended, but he negotiated remote months. Heart split, but full. Love, he learned, was elastic, stretching without snapping. Back in Seattle for cherry blossom season. They married quietly. City Hall. Ethan best man. Vows exchanged on a pier with gulls wheeling. I choose you, Felix said. Ring sliding home. Storms and all. Jordan's kiss sealed it. Rain misting soft. Life unfolded. A joint art brew collab. Murals on taproom walls. Ethan's wedding in the Cascades. Felix's toast weaving their tapestry. Humanity bloomed in the ordinary. Jordan's hand in his at farmers markets. Ethan's texts at odd hours. Felix sketched their story. Pages turning toward light. 2 years into the rhythm of their shared life. Felix woke to the scent of Jordan's coffee brewing downstairs. The duplex old pipes groaning in protest like an elderly relative at family gatherings. Sun slanted through the bedroom window, gilding the rumpled sheets where Jordan had left a note on his pillow. Morning run? Love you more. Felix smiled, tracing the words. The ink still damp. At 27, the edges of his world had softened, fewer jagged doubts. More mornings like this where gratitude outweighed the ghosts. He joined Jordan on the trail around Green Lake. Their sneakers pounding syncopated beats, mist rising off the water like steam from a hidden spring. Race you to the heron, Jordan teased, nodding at the bird statue midway, its silhouette a familiar landmark. Felix laughed, surging ahead, but let Jordan catch him at the finish. Their collision a playful tangle of limbs and breathless kisses. Back home, showers shared and lingering. Felix dressed for his studio day, a commission for a nonprofit. Portraits of elders in the queer community, faces etched with stories he honored in charcoal and watercolor. Jordan headed to the taproom. Now the mini empire with a Portland outpost thriving under a trusted manager. Dinner out? He called from the door. Ty half nodded for a supplier meet. Only if it's that Thai place in Fremont, Felix replied, already lost in preliminary sketches. The afternoon unfolded in quiet flow, pencils whispering across paper, the radio murmuring indie playlists. Ethan's text pinged midway. Riley's folks in town. Barbecue at the loft tomorrow? Bring Jordan. Dad wants brew tips. Felix grinned. Riley's family had become theirs. Holidays blending with potlucks and boardwalk strolls. But beneath the steadiness, undercurrents stirred. Felix's New York contacts buzzed with bigger offers, a full-time illustrator role at a publishing house. Manhattan address. Creative freedom unbound. Think about it, his agent emailed, attaching salary figures that dwarfed his freelance stability. Jordan knew. Of course, they discussed it over late-night stouts, but his enthusiasm masked a flicker of reluctance. Sounds epic. But uprooting. Again, Felix pushed it down, focusing on the portraits, an activist named Harold, 82, eyes twinkling with mischief from Stonewall days, a trans woman called Lena, lines of quiet defiance around her mouth. Their stories wove into his own, resilience as inheritance. Evening found them at the Thai spot, pad CEW steaming between them, lanterns casting golden pools on the table. Jordan's foot hooked around Felix's ankle. A tether. Heard from Ethan? Riley's folks bringing ribs. Felix nodded. But the city lights beyond the window pulled his gaze, Seattle's pulse. Steady but circumscribed. What if I said yes to New York? Jordan's chopsticks paused. Full yes? Or the deferral dance? The job. Real stakes. Jordan set down his fork. Expression open. I'd back you. Fly out weekends. Make it work. But I'd miss the runs. The chaos of market mornings. The honesty eased Felix. But sleep evaded that night. Mind-churning scenarios, sublets, long-distance trains, the pull of ambition versus anchor. Dawn brought decision, a call to his agent. Tell them I'm in, but hybrid. 3 months there, 9 here, compromise. Their old friend. Jordan's reaction was pure joy. Breakfast in bed. Pancakes stacked high. Syrup dripping like celebration. Proud as hell, he said, kissing Felix sticky sweet. We'll conquer it. Ethan's barbecue amplified the high. Riley's dad grilling with Jordan's input. Smoke curling lazy. Laughter ricocheting off the loft's bricks. To Felix, the nomad, Ethan toasted. Beer raced. Don't forget us little people. Felix clinked. Warmth spreading. But as dusk fell, fireflies winking in the yard, a shadow crossed Connor, uninvited, sauntering in with a mutual friend, beer in hand like he owned the night. Jordan stiffened beside Felix, but played host. Polite nods exchanged. Connor's eyes lingered on Felix. A smirk playing, heard your big time now. Congrats. The jab landed subtle, but Felix felt it, old poison. Later, by the fire pit, Connor cornered Jordan, missed the wild days. Man, Jordan's laugh was steel. Those days ended for a reason. Got something better. Felix watched from afar, heart swelling, but the encounter seeded unease. Back home, he voiced it over tea. He still circles. Why? You would insight. Pulling him close. Wounded egos cling. But he's noise. Your signal. Reassurance held. But New York's siren call intensified. Felix's first stint arrived in September. The city a blitz of yellow cabs and steam vents. His office in Flatiron alive with brainstorming sessions and takeout falafel. Jordan visited week 2. Their Airbnb in Chelsea, a cocoon of reunion, sex that redrew boundaries. Walks in the village where hand-holding felt revolutionary amid the bustle. Love it here, Jordan asked one crisp morning. Central Park, leaves crunching underfoot. Parts, Felix admitted. The energy. But missed the rain. Jordan squeezed his hand. Balance. That's us. Months cycled. New York winters biting. Seattle springs blooming. Felix's book deal landed, a graphic memoir. Lines in the storm. His story illustrated raw. Jordan's Portland taproom hosted a launch party. Satellite to the chain, but soul intact. Ethan and Riley's wedding anchored the year. Cascades Lodge. Evergreens framing vows. Felix's speech weaving brotherly threads. Ethan taught me family isn't blood, it's choice. Tears flowed. Jordan's arms steady around him. Crisis brewed subtly, a hell scare for mom. Routine, check turning to biopsy. The were benign, a relief exhaled collective. They rallied, Felix flying cross-country. Jordan driving her to appointments. Ethan handling logistics with Riley's calm efficiency. In the waiting room tension, Jordan confessed over vending machine coffee. Scared me. Makes you think legacy. Kids maybe. Felix paused. The idea new. Electric. Surrogacy? Adoption. Jordan's grin tentative. Dreaming aloud. But yet with you. The seed planted. Conversations bloomed. Agencies researched. Dreams sketched. But reality intruded. New York's demands escalating. Deadlines clashing with family polls. Fall fracture came via email. Promotion. Lead illustrator. But relocation full-time. Non-negotiable, the offer read. Felix's gut twisted. He flew home early, finding Jordan at the duplex, fermenting a test batch in the garage. We need to talk. Jordan wiped hands on a rag, face falling at Felix's tone. The job, full move. Or walk, silence stretched. Heavy. What do you want? Jordan asked, voice low. You. Here. Building. Jordan's eyes searched. And if I said Portland full-time, expansions peaking, the standoff crystallized fears, ambitions colliding, love tested by geography. We're drifting, Felix whispered. Chasing, not choosing. Jordan pulled him into the garage's dim, tools glinting like accusations. Then choose. Together, nights followed in negotiation, maps spread on the kitchen table. Compromises hashed, hybrid for both. Seattle base. Satellites elsewhere. But tension simmered. Intimacy strained to stolen moments. Ethan mediated over beers at the loft. You too, stubborn as me. Remember why you fight. Riley nodded. Hand on her growing belly. Pregnancy announced casual. Joy lighting the room. Life's short. Bend. The nudge propelled. Felix countered the offer, securing remote with quarterly immersions. Jordan scaled Portland to oversight, prioritizing home. Winter healed in layers, holiday lights strung. Mom's house filled with laughter. Ethan's nursery plans shared over eggnog. Felix's memoir proofs arrived, pages turning like therapy. Spring brought renewal, a positive from the agency, match with a surrogate named Aria. Her story aligning. Artist. Single. Seeking purpose. Meetings tentative, then warm. Dreams solidifying. Crisis resolved, not in grand gesture, but daily grace. Jordan's hand on Felix's knee during ultrasounds. Ethan's texts of Big Brother advice. Felix sketched the future, tiny hands. Family expanded. Humanity deepened in the wait. Walks with Mom. Brewing sessions with Ethan. Nights where Jordan's whispers wove security. "We're enough," Felix said one dawn, belly rounding in imagination. Jordan kissed his temple. More than. Life's arc bent toward light. Storms passed, shaping sails. The ultrasound wand glided cool over Aria's gel-smeared abdomen. The room's dim hum broken only by the technician's murmured, "There we are," and the sudden, galloping heartbeat filling the speakers like a wild drum. Felix's breath caught. Jordan's hand crushing his in a grip that bordered on pain. Their eyes locked on the grainy screen where a peanut-sized form flickered. Life. Theirs. Insistent. Strong, the text said. Printing strips, they clutched like talismans on the drive back to Seattle from the clinic in Bellevue. Aria, vibrant at 29 with cropped blue hair and a tattoo of a phoenix on her collarbone, had become a quiet constant. Monthly coffees at a cafe overlooking Lake Washington. Conversations meandering from prenatal vitamins to her pottery wheel dreams. "This feels right," she'd said early on. Over herbal teas. Not obligation, partnership. Felix trusted her. The arrangement a modern mosaic, legal strings tied neat. Emotions bounded by choice. Home. They pinned the ultrasound to the fridge beside Jordan's latest label mock-up, a stout called Heartbeat. Inspired by the moment. To us, Jordan toasted that night with sparkling cider, pulling Felix on a couch. Their duplex, now nursery prepped with a crib in the corner room. Walls awaiting murals of forests and stars. Felix leaned into him. The weight of impending fatherhood, a mix of terror and thrill. At 28, his life had layered like sedimentary rock. The memoir lines in the storm, a bestseller in indie circles. New York trips condensed to bursts of collaboration. Seattle's embrace tighter. Jordan's empire stabilized. Tap rooms as community hubs. Collabs with local artists like Felix yielding limited edition cans etched with drawings. But whispers of strain surfaced in the quiet hours. Ethan's texts grew sporadic. Buried in new dad haze, Riley's labor had yielded a son, Theo James. A squalling bundle Ethan doted on with photos flooding group chats. Uncle Judy's call, Felix replied. But envy nipped, delayed dreams clashing with brother's immediacy. Mom visited from Portland. Her hands deft with baby blankets knitted in pastels. Eyes misty over the printout. Your father's smile, she said, tracing the image. He'd be proud. The words stirred ghosts. Dad's absence a hole patched, but permeable. Felix sketched him that week. Paternal hands cradling the unborn. Forgiveness in the lines. Jordan sensed the undercurrent, suggesting a weekend getaway to the San Juans, ferry to Lopez Island. A cabin by the shore where seals barked offshore and tides dictated time. They hiked mossy trails. Jordan's pack-heavy with picnics. Felix's sketchbook light. Remember our first hike? Jordan asked, spreading a blanket under madronas. You tripped. I caught you. Felix laughed, pulling him down. Still falling. Lovemaking by the water's edge. Waves lapping rhythm. Reaffirmed them, bodies familiar. Desires honed. But talk turned deeper under stars. Fatherhood scares me, Felix admitted. Head on Jordan's chest. What if I repeat patterns? Absent like him. Jordan's fingers combed his hair. Your presence. Every day proves it. Reentry Jared. A gallery offer for Felix. European tour, Berlin. Paris, aligning with the due date. Defer, Jordan suggested gently. But Felix's ambition flared. It's exposure. Aria's got this. Tension simmered. Unspoken. Aria's check-ins remained steady. But her text carried a new edge, feeling the kicks. You too good? Felix assured. But doubt crept. Was he failing already? Ethan's visit amplified. Baby Theo in a carrier. Chubby fists waving. Riley glowing. He's a terror, Ethan joked. Passing the bundle. Felix held him tentative. Theo's weight a revelation. Warm. Demanding. Jordan cooed. Expert from nephew duties. But Felix's arms trembled. Natural, Ethan said, clapping his back. Like you were. Later. Alone. Felix broke. What if I'm not enough? Jordan held him through tears. Enough is showing up. We will. Autumn deepened. Leaves carpeting the duplex yard where they planted a maple sapling. For roots, Jordan said. Soil dark under nails. Felix's tour loomed. Tickets booked. But cancellation gnawed. Ravi. In session. Probed. Sacrifice or spread. Both can nurture. Decision crystallized at a harvest fair in Ballard. Jordan manning a booth. Felix sketching portraits for charity. The air rich with cider and hay. A family passed. 2 dads with a toddler on shoulders. Joy unfeigned, and Felix's resolve snapped. He texted his agent out. Family first. Jordan's relief was palpable that night. Celebration in sheets and whispers. Proud. So damn proud. Winter wrapped them cozy. Holidays with Mom and the Ethans. Theo's first Christmas in onesie reindeer. Laughter echoing. Aria's belly swelled. Scans confirming twins. Girls. A surprise doubling stakes and wonder. Crisis peaked in January's ice storm. Power outages blanketing Seattle. The duplex chilled to shivers. Aria went into early labor during a blackout. Contractions hitting as snow pile drifts. Jordan drove the treacherous roads to the clinic. Felix in passenger seat, white-knuckled, calling Ethan en route. It's time. Pray, or whatever. The birth was chaos and grace. Dim emergency lights. Aria's grip bruising. The twins arriving blue-faced then pink. Cries twin sirens. Lila rose first. Then Nova Grace, named for lights and storms. Held first by their surrogate. Then passed tear-streaked to Felix and Jordan. Your dads, Aria whispered. Exhausted smile radiant. Perfect. The world narrowed to those hours. Tiny fingers curling. Jordan's awestruck hush. Ethan's arrival with Riley and Theo. Family orbiting the bassinets. Mom faced on for Portland. Sobbing joy. Homecoming blurred in sleep-deprived haze. Midnight feedings. Jordan's lullabies off-key. Felix's murals on nursery walls, blooming forests where fairies danced. Doubts dissolved in minutiae, diaper dashes. First smiles coaxed by tickles. But depth demanded evolution. Jordan's Portland duties delegated further. Felix's work shifting to home studio. Commissions flowing remote. They joined a queer parents group in Capitol Hill. Stories shared over playdates. Struggles universal. Bonds forged. Spring thawed isolation. Park strolls with double carriers. Ethan and Riley's playdates turning quartet chaos. Mom relocated north. A a cottage and shoreline for grandma duties. One evening, as sun dipped golden over the sound, Felix watched Jordan chase the girls on blankets, giggles peeling. "This," he said later, twins asleep, arms around Jordan. "Worth every fracture." Jordan kissed his temple. And more to come. Humanity unfolded in the small, a burned dinner laughed off, Theo's toddler hugs, Aria's visits with clay gifts. Felix's next book brewed, Roots Unseen, illustrations of fatherhood's quiet revolutions. Life, once storm-tossed, settled into harbor, love a constant current, carrying forward. Years folded like well-worn pages. The duplex evolving into a home etched with milestones. Crayon scrawls on doorframes marking Lila and Nova's growth spurts. Jordan's brewery labels adorning the fridge alongside Felix's award plaques for Roots Unseen. A coffee table staple in queer households nationwide. At 32, Felix moved through days with a settled grace. His hair threaded with early silver from stress and joy intertwined. His sketches now bolder, infused with the chaos of domesticity, doodles of chubby fists clutching pencils, abstracts of lullaby rhythms. The girls turned 3 in a whirlwind of pink frosting and backyard tents. Seattle's June sun obliging with rare warmth. Ethan and Riley arrived early. Theo, 5 now, gap-toothed and bossy, hurting his cousins with wooden swords fashioned from garden stakes. Uncle Felix, "Draw us as knights," he demanded, plopping onto Felix's lap amid the picnic chaos. Felix obliged. Charcoal flying, armored tots slaying paper dragons. Jordan peering over his shoulder with that fond smirk. Artist Dad strikes again. Their kiss was brief, interrupted by Nova's gleeful tackle. "Dada, me next." But the normalcy grounded Felix, a bomb against the underhum of change. Portland's taproom had become Jordan's anchor. Weekly drives south, a ritual where Felix tagged along with Sketchpad. The girls napping in car seats amid hop fields gold and autumn light. But whispers of expansion circled again, a Seattle flagship overhaul. Investors eyeing a distillery arm. Jordan downplayed over family dinners. Just talks. Nothing set. Felix nodded. But memory stirred. Old tensions of ambitions pull. Ravi, now a holiday card staple, had warned in their last session, growth tests. Ensure it feeds, not famishes. Ethan, ever the brotherly barometer, cornered Felix at the birthday grill. Jordan's seams. Wired. "You two solid. Solid as ever," Felix replied, flipping veggie burgers. But doubt flickered. Riley, bouncing Theo on her hip. "Chum, talk it out." We learned the hard way. Nights after parties, with girls tucked in starlit dreams. Felix and Jordan debriefed on the deck, wine loosening tongues. The distillery could double output, Jordan mused. Stars pricking the sky. Security for the girls. Felix sipped, tracing constellations. And us, more hours. Less here. Jordan's hand found his. I'd carve space. Like always, trust held. But the proposal landed weeks later, a board seat for Jordan. Travel heavy. Decisions quarterly in San Francisco. 3 trips a year, he assured. Packing for the first. Home by weekends. Felix waved him off at the airport. Girls waving sticky fingers. But the duplex echoed in his absence. Meals solo. Bedtime stories doubled. Lila's fever hit day 3. A midnight clinic run with Nova wailing in tandem. Felix's hands shaking on the wheel. Jordan's call came mid-diagnosis. I'm booking a red-eye. He arrived dawn-dazed, scooping girls into bear hugs. Felix into quiet apology. Should have been here. You are now, Felix murmured, exhaustion yielding to relief. The scare prompted pause, Jordan declining the board. Channeling energy local, community workshops at the taproom. Brewing classes for dads like them. Family first. He inked on a new tattoo. A tiny heartbeat beside the compass. Summer deepened bonds. Family camping in the Olympics. Tents pitched by river roar. Ethan teaching the girls to skip stones while Riley and Mom hiked trails scented pine. Nights around the fire. Stories swapped. Dad's fishing tales retold kinder. Fractures mended in embers. Felix's career crested gently. A TEDx talk in Seattle. Drawing desire. Art as activism. Stage lights warm on his face. Jordan in front row with girls on knees. Clapping fiercest. Backstage. Jordan's embrace. You slayed. Fall brought Aria's wedding. A potter's union in her Portland studio. Clay-dusted vows under oaks. The girls flower the aisle. Felix and Jordan toasting her joy to chosen paths. But winter's chill carried undercurrent. Ethan's startup faltered. Layoffs hitting close. His texts lay strain. Need advice, he called one sleet last night. Voice tight. Over whiskey at the loft. He confessed, Riley's pregnant again. But money. We're drowning. Felix and Jordan pooled. Loans from savings. Brewery space for Ethan's pivot gig. Co-working in the taproom. We're in this, Jordan said, clapping Ethan's back. Always. The gesture healed deeper rifts. Ethan opening about resentments linger. Therapy is on now. You saved me once, he told Felix. My turn to lean. Spring bloomed reconciliation, joint family therapy. Not crisis, but enrichment. Lena facilitating circles where words wove tighter. Mom shared letters from Dad's youth. Vulnerabilities bared, girls' laughter a soundtrack to growth. Crisis crested subtle, a health dip for Jordan. Routine, check flagging cholesterol. Doctor's orders slow down. Or risk. The word heart echoed Felix's lineage. Panic sharp. Jordan joked through stress tests. Brewer's curse, too much tasting. But Felix saw the fear, holding him through nights of what-ifs. Lifestyle shifted, runs together. Gardens tended. Taproom duties delegated. Healing emerged resilient. Jordan's new line. Steady pool. Low alcohol, wellness brews. Felix's illustrations for a parenting anthology. Tiny tempests. The girls started preschool. Backpacks slung. First days, tearful, then triumphant. By summer's end, the family gathered for Ethan's vow renewal, beachside in West Seattle. Waves lapping as rings exchanged anew. Theo ring-bearer with sister en route in Riley's belly. Felix's toast, to loves that weather, brothers, partners, the wild ones we raise. Tears and cheers mingled. Jordan's arm around Felix. Girls dancing barefoot in surf. Years later, at 10, Lila and Nova, mirrors of each other. One artist eye keen, the other brewer's hand steady. Asked over dinner, tell us the storm story again. Felix glanced at Jordan, silver threading his temples too. Once, he began, voices joining. Rain fell hard, but we found light. Ethan, across with his brood, raised a glass and kept it. Mom nodded, eyes bright. Aria, partner in tow, squeezed hands. The table hummed, lives intertwined. Scars faint maps to strength. Felix sketched under the lamplight later. Family sprawled in repose. Lines soft with permanence. What changed everything? Not the night, but the after. Choices chaining to grace. Love a verb unending. In Seattle's eternal drizzle, they thrived, human, whole, home.